Welcome to OKOGA Live. I'm Chad Warmington. I'm the president of the Oklahoma Oil and Gas Association. We've got a special OKOGA Live coming to you from Kingfisher County. Some happenings in Kingfisher County we wanted to explain to you and get into some discussion on some recent actions by the Kingfisher County commissioners that are banning the use of temporary water lines in county right-of-ways. Big deal to the oil and gas industry. And we're going to hear to talk about it today. And at the end of it, what we're hopeful is if you live in Kingfisher County, you're going to call your commissioners and tell them to stop the ban. Joined today by a special guest from Newfield Exploration. I've got Lloyd Hetrick, who's the engineering advisor for Newfield. Lloyd, thanks for being here, for one.
You're welcome.
In Kingfisher County with Newfield operations in the background.
Absolutely.
So if you could tell us kind of what are we looking at here? What's going on? What's Newfield doing in the area?
So these are a couple drilling rigs. We're drilling oil and gas wells in the stack play. It takes about 2 weeks to drill each well, and we'll drill multiple wells. So we'll be here probably for a couple of months, and then the drilling is over, we'll move into a completions phase. It'll take a couple more weeks each.
Great. So let's get into what the Kingfisher County Commissioners recently did. So they banned the use of temporary lines carrying produced water in county rights-of-way. So wanted to talk about that practice. How long have we been doing that practice? And let's just kind of get into that. How long has that been going on?
You know, that's what's interesting, Chad, that we've been moving produced water in temporary pipelines for years, and we've done it successfully and without significant incident. So that's really what's puzzling to us, is what has changed, because we're not doing anything differently, and that's really all we're asking, is to be able to continue doing what we've been doing responsibly.
Typically, how long are these lines in place, in use when you're using them? How long are they in the right-of-way?
So the water lines themselves might be in place for 2 or 3 months, on average maybe 2, but then they move to the next location. So it's a very short period of time relative to the life of the well, because when you consider a well between getting drilled and completed and produced might be over 30 years. So we're talking a very small percentage of the life of the well.
So let's talk about why recycling water matters. And I think maybe we can even back up. The use of these lines is critical to the recycling and the reuse of water. And without the use of those lines, it makes it almost impossible for us to be able to reuse and recycle water, which we'll get into all the reasons why. But let's talk about recycling. Why does it matter? Why is it important to Newfield?
So recycling is important to us for a lot of reasons. First, it's the right thing to do. So every barrel of produced water that comes out of our wells, rather than going to a disposal well, we're saving a barrel of fresh water by reusing it in our operation. So the first thing is it makes that barrel of fresh water available for other uses, whatever, agricultural, community, whatever, but it also avoids a barrel of water that has to go to disposal. So it's a good thing on both sides. The state supports it. Everybody in the industry really supports it. It's just the right thing to do.
And so talking about that state support, what's really interesting is that the state is so interested in us reusing and recycling water. The governor created the Produced Water Working Group, and the entire point of the group was to explore the barriers, to research what are the things that are preventing oil and gas operators from reusing and recycling more water. That group has been meeting for over a year and a half and has done some good work, and you've been involved with that, on trying to eliminate those barriers. But we didn't anticipate that the county commission would come in and put more in place.
We didn't see this coming, that we thought we had the barriers identified, but this has recently come up, and we're still trying to figure out what the drivers are.
Exactly, and I don't think we know, and that's been part of the confusing part. You know, one of the interesting things, the governor and the state of Oklahoma has a Water for 2060 plan, and reusing and recycling water is a big part of the Water for 2060 plan. Water is a critical part of many in industrial applications, but agriculture, cities need water, we need water, and so anything that reuses and recycles water is part of this Water for 2060 plan, and really want to applaud the governor for putting together the Produced Water Working Group and the state for being proactive. And I know we're not the only state that does that, and you work in other areas that's encouraged as well.
It's not unique to Oklahoma, but it's strongly supported in Oklahoma, and we're glad to be here and invest heavily in recycling facilities. And we've done that for years, and now that there's this temporary ban that's placed on our ability to move our recycled produced water, now it interrupts our investment, because if our cost per barrel goes up because we now have to truck water that we could previously put in a pipe, like everybody else, we live on a budget, so there are going to be fewer wells drilled, impacts the local economy and jobs. But not only that, that the state revenues are going to decline because there are going to be fewer barrels of oil and gas produced in the state.
So to be clear, the ban stays in place. What happens? What are the net results of the ban staying in place?
First of all, we recycle fewer barrels, and the barrels that we do recycle will have to be trucked. So our costs go up. So it's a double whammy, a double negative. So less responsible operations, higher costs, so fewer wells drilled, slower or no growth, and so everybody suffers, the local and the state economy.
And that's what I really want to get into. I mean, hopefully residents of Kingfisher County are going to watch this as well. And this is one of the key takeaways. We don't want to put more trucks on the road. We know that truck traffic is a natural part of our operations, and reusing and recycling water using temporary lines gets those trucks off the road. We don't want more trucks on the road. But we're talking thousands of additional truckloads would be required to move that water up and down these roads when we can do it by pipeline. Correct?
Yeah. So we're not hating on trucks. We love trucks. We need them to move our rigs and all of our heavy equipment that we can't survive without trucks. But it makes no sense to double, triple, quadruple the number of trucks we're already using. So the point is that if these temporary right-of-ways are not granted, we have to add trucks. And in this immediate area right here in Kingfisher County, one pipeline might increase truck traffic by 200 or 300 trucks per day. That's just in this area. Across the whole county, that could be thousands of trucks across the county every day because we can't move produced water in county right-of-ways.
So the other thing I think we need to keep in mind too, again for Kingfisher County residents, is if this ban's not removed, and we believe it's unlawful, we believe it's pretty clear that it's an unlawful ban, we don't want to pursue legal action, but we're going to. And so we're going to talk about more trucks on your road. We're going to talk about having to use more fresh water, and then you're going to have to spend county resources defending a lawsuit that's completely unnecessary. We don't understand that. So again, we want to stop the ban. We want you to call your commissioners and talk to them about that because we want to work with your commissioners on this. There's no reason for us to be going down this path. Let's talk about who does regulate. The question is, if the county can't, and they shouldn't, and the law is clear that they aren't the regulatory authority, who is the proper regulatory authority?
So it's always been the Oklahoma Corporation Commission that they regulate the movement of produced water throughout the state. And we're not asking to change that. They have rules that are clear, that are enforceable, and the operator, our company, is responsible if we do anything wrong, and we accept that. What we don't like is having a new prohibition that adds uncertainty, and we're still trying to sort through that.
Exactly, and I think that's a really couple of key points we want to emphasize there. Liability. So if there is a spill, the Corporation Commission has the complete jurisdiction and authority to manage that cleanup. And who's responsible for that cleanup?
It is the operator. That we don't delegate it to anybody else. It falls on to us. Now, it might be cleaned up by third-party contractors, but they're physically doing the work. But we're the ones paying for it. So we have an incentive to not spill produced water because it hurts everybody. We don't want to do it, and we try very hard. We have processes in place. We use good equipment, good operating practices to not spill produced water.
And the county knows this. We've worked really hard to make sure we let the county commissioners know. We actually brought in the Corporation Commission and had them explain the cleanup process. And the cleanup process is pretty robust. They come in and test the ground. They make sure that the ground in the area is restored to the condition it was before the spill. And that is on the responsibility of the operators, managed by the Corporation Commission. They have the authority. They don't have any qualms about that. And I think that's a really important part. This isn't a highly unregulated process. It's very regulated, regimented. The commission does a good job, and they're going to continue to do it. And here's another thing I think that we want Kingfisher County residents to understand. Your DA has looked at this law and has agreed that it's unlawful. The Corporation Commission has let the Kingfisher County commissioners know that it's unlawful. And so they've both advised them that they need to work with us and come up with some better language. And again, we want to work with them to come up with some better language on that. But the language they have now won't work. It's unlawful, and it's going to result in unnecessary litigation. And again, more importantly, it's going to be a hindrance to the people of Kingfisher County. Correct?
Yes,
absolutely. Okay, I just want to make sure you agree with me on that.
Yes.
So, look, I wanted to talk a little bit, too, and you've been helpful about what are we trying to do, what have we been trying to do to really avoid this inevitable legal fight. And OKOGA has been attended many Kingfisher County Commission meetings over the last couple of months. We've asked for a number of things, and anything the commissioners have asked for, we've provided in terms of information. What we specifically asked for was a 120-day delay that we could work with Lloyd, the Corporation Commission, the Water Resources Board, get the experts on these issues to work with the Commission and the Corporation Commission to come up with a solution. We know there's a simple solution. The ban isn't the solution. We coordinated a meeting of all of those groups, and we pulled them in a room to show the commissioners we're serious about this. This isn't just lip service, and we're not just doing this for a delay tactic. We want to address the issues they're trying to address, but we need to do it through the proper authority, which is the Corporation Commission. And then we also had the directors of the Water Resources Board. We had the Secretary of Energy and Environment involved. So should be no doubt about our seriousness of working together on this collaboratively to do the right thing. Any comment on that?
No, it's just industry wants to do the right thing. Now, certainly industry is a wide spectrum of operators, but the vast majority of operators in the stack, Kingfisher County, want to do the right thing and accept the liability. We embrace having a strong regulator, and really it's just the uncertainty with the new ban that has put us kind of in a quandary, and how do we plan our business with this uncertainty?
One last thing I wanted to throw in there too, and Lloyd has been doing some really good work in terms of developing industry-leading best management practices. Part of the issue here is that this technology and the ability for us to do this is relatively new, and so there maybe are some specifications or some best management practices that haven't really been developed anywhere. Lloyd is leading a group within OKOGA and nationally to develop industry-leading standards that will be developed here in Oklahoma, used by the entire industry throughout the nation. And you've been leading that effort for OKOGA because we want to do the right thing, and we want to make sure that there are good operators doing the right thing, and frankly that the bad operators are weeded out, because we've got management practices in place that dictate how we should be doing these things, correct?
That's a great point. That this is not a new reactive process that we just scrambled and put together. So for years, industry through industry trade groups have cooperatively studied the use of temporary pipelines. We work with our service providers to make sure we understand their needs, and we're developing best management practices that we will be publishing in Oklahoma for Oklahoma operators, but we'll be sharing it with other operators in other states. So it's capturing what's already being done. It's setting a baseline for what good operations look like, and we don't mind holding ourselves to a standard. And really, when you have clarity, now everybody's happy, because up until recently we haven't had total clarity on best management practices. So we're fixing that now.
And we're going to lead the way, just like we've led the way in other regulatory challenges in Oklahoma, seismicity and other things. Oklahoma's leading the way, and we're going to do it together. We want to do it with the commissioners, but we need to do it through the Corporation Commission. So that's kind of the key point. Look, at the end of the day, less wells, less jobs, less prosperity for Oklahoma, less prosperity for Kingfisher County. We want Newfield and all of our member companies, any company that's willing to come to Oklahoma and spend money and drill and do it the right way, we want you here. And we don't need 77 different regulatory schemes from 77 different county commissioner boards. We've got a great regulatory body in the Corporation Commission, and that's where this process needs to stay. Any wrapping up comments you have for us?
We're not hating on trucks. We need trucks, we use trucks, but it makes no sense to vastly increase the amount of trucks over and above what we have right now to replace a temporary pipeline system that's working. It's safely, it's the most responsible way. It lets us recycle our produced water. It's really a good thing, and we just want to continue doing it responsibly.
No doubt. All right, last thing, Kingfisher County residents need your help. Pick up the phone, call your commissioners, tell them to stop the ban, tell them to work with industry. Together we'll solve this problem. There's no need for litigation or a fight. We want to do the right thing together. So again, stop the ban. Again, Kingfisher County, it's great to be here. It's great to see this operation going on in the background is what we need going on as many places in Oklahoma as we can at what drives our economy. OKOGA live from the field of Kingfisher County. We'll be back soon with another episode. Thanks for being here.